$70 for a barrel of oil sound like a deal. I mean, what if that's the new normal we're looking at?
We might be, actually.
That's what we're going to dive into today. We've got a report fresh off the presses this morning, Energy Market Drivers from Global Risk Management.
And it's a doozy.
It really is.
A lot going on in the energy market right now.
So many moving pieces, so many players. Let's start with a big one. Saudi Arabia, they always seem to be at the center of things in the oil world, but this report, it hints that they might be cooking up something even bigger this time.
They might be going for, like, total market domination.
Wow. Even if it means they have to, sacrifice some profits in the short term?
That's the theory. It sounds a little
Yep.
crazy, right? But you got to remember, back in 2014, they tried something similar.
Oh, yeah, flooded the market with oil. Doesn't that really shake things up?
Big time. Prices went through the floor, put a lot of pressure on other oil-producing countries, especially the U.S. shale producers. They really took a hit.
So are we talking deja vu all over again? Is history about to repeat itself?
That's the million-dollar question. But the good news is, it's not quite a carbon copy. This time around, the U.S. shale guys, they're in a much stronger position. Learned from their mistakes, got more efficient.
So they're not the same vulnerable newbies they were back then.
Exactly. And there's another wrinkle. See, this time, it looks like the Saudis might be sending a message to the other OPEC members. You know, the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries.
Right, the big dogs of the oil world. What, like a friendly reminder to stay in line?
Something like that.
Yeah?
Some of them have been pumping more than their quota allows. And, well, the Saudis, they don't like that. The timing of the next OPEC meeting is on October 2nd. It couldn't be more interesting.
Ooh, the plot thickens. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out. So Saudi Arabia is definitely one to watch, but they're not the only ones making waves. This report also had some news about Libya that I was not expecting.
Yeah, this one's a real head-scratcher. So Libya, obviously, major oil producer, but they've been dealing with a lot of internal conflict, right?
Right, which has really hurt their oil production.
Exactly. Everyone thought it would be a long time before they were back up and running at full capacity. But now all of a sudden it looks like they've reached some kind of agreement, conflict's over, and they're ready to start pumping oil again way sooner than anyone expected.
Wow, talk about a plot twist. So what does this mean for prices? Is this going to throw a wrench in Saudi Arabia's master plan?
Well, typically more supply means lower prices, right?
Right.
But this is happening at the same time as everything else we just talked about with Saudi Arabia, so it's complicated.
It's like a real-life energy thriller. Everything's happening at once.
Right. And here's another interesting thing about the Libya situation.
Okay.
In the past, they've had disruptions to their oil production before, but it's always taken a really long time to sort things out.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? It's not like you can just flip a switch and everything goes back to normal after a conflict.
Exactly. But this time, the speed of this resolution, it's really unprecedented.
So we've got potential increased supply from Saudi Arabia, Libya suddenly back in the game. All signs point to oil prices going down, right?
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
I would.
But we can't forget about the 800-pound gorilla in the room. China.
Ah, yes, China. Always a wild card.
Yeah.
What are they up to this time?
Well, remember all the talk about their economy slowing down?
Oh, yeah. It was all over the news a few weeks ago.
Seems like they got tired of hearing about it because they've decided to take action.
About time. So what's the plan? Spill the tea.
The report highlights some pretty major steps they've taken recently to juice their economy, give it a bit of a boost.
A little economic caffeine kick.
Exactly. And the market seems to be responding well to it, more optimistic now.
Well, that's good news. But what are they actually doing? Give me the specifics.
Okay, so they've cut interest rates, which is supposed to encourage borrowing and investment, right?
Makes sense. Makes it cheaper to get loans and get things moving.
Right. And then on top of that, they're also making it easier for banks to lend money, essentially freeing up more cash to flow through the system.
So more money for businesses, more money for people. Sounds like a good thing, right?
In theory, yeah. They're calling it a small bazooka approach, which I kind of love.
Small bazooka, I've got to say. That's a pretty awesome way to put it. So not going completely nuclear on the economic stimulus, but still making a statement.
Exactly. They're serious about getting things back on track.
Yeah.
But even with all these measures, we have to remember China's economy is complex. It's not a quick fix situation.
Right. Those long-term concerns, they haven't magically disappeared overnight.
Definitely not. But at least in the short term, for the next few months, it's a good sign. Gives the oil market a reason to be cautiously optimistic.
Okay, so just to recap, we've got Saudi Arabia potentially increasing production, Libya coming back online, and China trying to pump up its economy. It's like a giant game of energy poker, and everyone's holding their cards close to their chest. So, back to our original question. Is $70 oil the new normal we should all brace ourselves for?
That's what everyone wants to know, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's tough to say for sure.
No crystal ball.
Afraid not.
Uh,
This report doesn't have all the answers. The energy market, it's notoriously difficult to predict. So many factors can change things.
it's like trying to predict the weather, right?
Exactly. You can make educated guesses, but there are always surprises.
So, no easy answers. But even with all this uncertainty, the folks over at GRM, they seem to have an idea of where things might be heading, at least in the short term. They're saying that the 70s, 74 per barrel range might be a good time for people to start thinking about hedging. Hedging. Now, you've got to break that down for me, for the folks at home who don't spend their days knee-deep in financial jargon.
Yeah, sure. Hedging. It sounds way more complicated than it actually is. Basically, it's like taking out an insurance policy on the price of oil.
Okay, I like where this is going. So,
Yeah.
if you're worried about energy prices going up,
Hedging could be a way to lock in a price now and protect yourself from those potential price hikes later.
so you're saying if you're worried about your heating oil bill skyrocketing this winter.
Hedging could be a way to manage that risk.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I'm all about a little financial planning, especially when it comes to something as unpredictable as the energy market. This report from Global Risk Management, it's definitely given us a lot to think about. But you know what really struck me?
What's that?
It's this, we're so focused on what's happening right now, this week, this month, with oil prices, but this whole thing got me thinking about the bigger picture.
The transition to renewable.
Yeah, like everyone's talking about wind and solar, green hydrogen, all that good stuff. But if oil prices just kind of stabilize, even at a price that's kind of high, like $70 a barrel,
Right.
does that actually slow things down? Does it make it less urgent?
That is the billion-dollar question, isn't it? It's a tough one. On the one hand, if oil prices are stable, it gives governments and companies a bit more breathing room. They can plan a bit better, maybe invest in renewable energy projects.
Right, it's less of an emergency.
Exactly. But the flip side is, if oil isn't super expensive, will there be enough incentive to actually make those investments happen?
Yeah, it's like we all want clean energy and we know it's the future. But then if gas prices aren't going crazy, it's easy to just stick with what we know.
It's human nature, right? We're creatures of habit.
Totally. And it just makes you think about all the other things this could impact. Like, will people still be as excited about buying electric cars if gas prices are kind of okay?
Right.
Will investors still be throwing money at those renewable energy startups if the oil and gas industry looks a little safer?
It's all connected.
It really is. This report, Energy Market Drivers from Global Risk Management, it's been a wild ride. We've talked about OPEC, China, even got a little financial planning advice.
A little bit of everything.
But for me, the biggest takeaway, it's that question about the long game. What's going to really push us towards that clean energy future, make it a reality?
It's a question we all have to grapple with.
It is. It's a big one. So to everyone listening, keep those brains churning, keep asking those tough questions. A huge thank you to the team over at GRM for this awesome report, and to all of you for joining us on this deep dive into the energy market. We'll catch you next time.